Welcome to Mishna study Masechet Sheviit Perek Vav Mishnah Gimal. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to speak about onions and the leaves of the onions. I say the leaves of the onions because Rambam seems to have changed his mind when it came to the Perush Mishnah over here. Many Mefarshim explain this as talking about the onions themselves. We'll see how Rambam is going to focus on the leaves of the onions, and he's going to explain this whole Mishnah Midin Sifiheh Sheviit, right, which is unique. So we're going to explain according to Rambam. So let's say you had onions, you pick them ready, they're back, you stored them in the ground, they're on the ground, they were rained on, they start to sprout again. What are the laws of these onions? Are they considered, or the leaves of these onions that grow, are they considered part of the onion themselves, or are they considered sifiheh sheviit? If you had onions that rain fell on them, it's samhu and they started to sprout. So im hayu ha'alim shelahem shahorim asurim horiku hare'elu mutarim. If the leaves themselves were black, then it's going to be asur. But if they're green, they are mutar. Meaning what? If the onions are green, if the leaves are green, then we see them as part of the onion themselves. If they're part of the onion themselves, the onion, if it's allowed, you're allowed to eat that fruit. So too, you're allowed to eat the leaves of that fruit. But let's say they turn black. So now we're going to treat those leaves as sifihim. We're going to treat them as if they just grew on their own from the ground. They're not part of the onion, and it's going to be asur midin sifihim. That's the way Rambam explains this. Many Mefarshim explain this very differently. Even he originally explained it differently. That's going back on the onion bulb itself. But we explained according to Rambam in his later edition. Rabbi Hanina ben Antignas Omer, Rambam is Gores Antignas. He says, "Ima yu yocholim nitalesh ya'alim shelehem asurim." So if when you pick out the leaves themselves, the bulb stays in the ground, right? So they become detached. Then the alim themselves are going to be asur because we treat them as a separate entity. We'll treat them like sifihim. And sifiheh sheviit, we know, are asur. Uchneged ken b'motzei sheviit, right? Keneged ken motzei sheviit mutarim, right? Similarly, if you have the next year, right? In the same case, if you had that the following year, motzei sheviit, the first year of the cycle, meaning when you pick the leaves, the actual bulb stays in the ground. It's not detached. Then you're allowed to eat those alim on Motzei Sheviit. Why? Because they're not considered sifihim. Halacha, though, is not like Rabbi Hanina ben Antignas. It doesn't go according to whether the leaves can be plucked or not plucked, they're picked or not picked. Rather, it goes according to if they're green or black, and that's how Rambam is posek. Also in the Chibur, midin sifihim, that if they become black, then you're not allowed to eat them because you treat them like sifiheh sheviit. And as we said, you're not allowed to have things that grow on their own during the Shemitah year because of the gezerah that Chachamim made that makes it asur.